Well, our first speaker is Logan, and he's going to share about what God has done through him and a group of college-age students from the University of Illinois and other colleges. I think they came together, went to Ocean City, New Jersey to share the gospel. So Logan, if you're willing, come up and share your testimony.
Okay, hello. This is the first time I've been up here in a very long time. So, as many of you may or may not know, I spent the last 2 months in Ocean City, New Jersey, like Pastor Dave said. And one of the things, where was I going with that? Whoops. Okay, so going to Ocean City, New Jersey was something that I hadn't even really considered until probably about February. When I was on campus, I joined this Christian program on campus called Crew, and I'd been involved for a little while, and I actually was set up with a discipler, which is just basically somebody, well, he was fairly close to my age. He was about 24 years old. He graduated from ISU, and he was just a teacher for me. He was there to help me grow in my faith and teach me how to grow on my own as well, so that when he was gone or when I was gone, I wouldn't be completely helpless. And so this man, his name was David Thomas. He was very influential in my decision to go to Ocean City. He pastored me quite a bit about it from about December until I finally decided to go. It was very annoying. But eventually I folded to peer pressure because some people in my small group had also gone the year before, and they kept telling me about how amazing it was and how it would change my life. And I didn't really believe them. I didn't know what kind of power this trip had on people. And I think the thing that had the most power on me personally was the other 100 people who were also there. So the mission trip was set up with 101 students and 44 staff members from all across the country. There was about 30 different universities represented. There was 9 students from the University of Illinois, which was pretty interesting. We were one of the bigger crowds. It was made up of 7 girls and myself and another guy. So we were kind of outnumbered in the gender department. Other universities that were represented were the University of Arizona, Ohio State University, Michigan State University, Chico State University in California, San Diego State, Northwestern, Toledo University in Ohio. There was one random university from Maine, and there was only one student from that university. So just the idea was that people from all over the country, from all different walks of life, from all different backgrounds, there were even some different ethnicities represented, which was very interesting. It gave some different aspects on a lot of issues. And so being a part of a larger group of people, I had some people that I knew already going into Project. There were 3 people I had met actually lived in the same building as I had my freshman year, which was kind of cool. But the idea was not to stick around the people that I knew. It was to make more friends and meet new people and just see how other people viewed life and spirituality and their walk with God. And so that was very, very scary for me. I am an introverted person, and so putting myself in this situation, living with 100 other people in close proximity, and having to deal with them every single day, not getting a break, I couldn't really be by myself. It was kind of scary at first, but at first I didn't really put myself out there a whole lot. I was still scared. I left a very bad impression on the first person I met, carrying my suitcase up 2 flights of stairs, and then there was another step to get into my room, which I didn't notice because my suitcase is very large, and so I tripped over it and fell. So that was the first impression I left, and it wasn't a very good one. And that happened to be my discipler as well, so that was not a good tone to start off the summer. But as the second week rolled around, I met the other guy from my university. His name was Ryan. I met him on the beach, and he was like, "I've been looking for you. I wanted to meet this other guy from the University of Illinois." I'm like, "Wow, that's really cool." So we started talking on the beach, and we played some spike ball, which is a very popular game in youth. I don't know how to explain it, but it's played on the beach with a small net, and it's just a very popular game. So we hung out, we played some games, we had some adult conversation, which was kind of awkward for me. And then we started talking about like our majors, where we're from, what we've done so far in our life, stuff like that. And we became really good friends, and Ryan is the reason that I started to open up to other people, because I figured if this guy's so great, then everybody here must be pretty cool. So by week 5, actually, I had opened up so much that all 100 people there were like my family. And I was best friends with everybody. I knew their first, last, some of their middle names. I knew what university everybody was from, which is a daunting task because there was 100 people. Learning what school everybody was from was very challenging. But after spending so much time with everybody, I couldn't help but learn about them. And so that kind of leads into the biggest thing that I learned this summer was the importance of fellowship and how important, and how that can play such a big role in someone's walk with their faith. When you have a group of brothers and sisters who can comfort you and can encourage you 24/7 constantly, it's kind of like a perfect environment. Like, you don't ever have to be afraid of anything. You don't have to hide anything, because just the way that they love you and care for you and want you to be like strong in your walk and want you to be happy is just so uplifting. It's like I couldn't ever be sad on this mission trip because nobody else was ever sad. We were all just happy all the time because we were all positive and we were all encouraging. And so that really opened my eyes to the opportunities of making friends and having such a wonderful group of believers surrounding me all the time. And so I'm going to be seeking that out everywhere in my regular life now. And the second thing that I learned this summer is kind of the whole reason this mission trip was put together. So we were in Ocean City, obviously, and so here are some of this is where we lived. It's called the Ambassador's Inn. It's been standing there for 35 years now. It's gone through 2 hurricanes, I believe, and it's big enough to house about 70 people, I would say. This is where the girls stayed. They separated guys and girls' living quarters. And so this is where the women stayed, and there was another house a block away where all the men stayed. I don't have a picture of that one. It's not nearly as impressive. It had air conditioning. That was the thing going for it. And then some of the sites in Ocean City. Oh, it's not working. There it is. This is the boardwalk that we were on. This was the main focus of the summer. This boardwalk that stretched 2.5 miles up the coast. We would go here daily, and we would go in groups or pairs or with our discipler, and we would walk up and down this boardwalk for hours on end, and we would just share with people. It was very structured sharing time at first. The way I was taught was to walk up to somebody, ask them if they could do me a favor. We had this survey that we always did. We asked them if they could just answer 5 quick questions, and then these questions were structured in a way that would lead to a spiritual conversation. We would ask them their opinions on Christianity and their thoughts about God, but not those words. And so once we kind of engaged them in this idea of spirituality and religion, we kind of brought out a little booklet that we always carried as well, and we offered to share the gospel with them, and a lot of them said yes, actually. From 10 weeks of sharing, 100 students, I can't actually read this. We had something like 16,000 initiations. The town of Ocean City in the wintertime is filled with about 20,000 people. It's a very tourist hotspot location because of the beach and the weather, although it was very humid there. I don't know why anybody would want to stay there. But by 4th of July weekend, the town's population swelled to 150,000 people. And so the boardwalks were packed. There was hardly room to walk around by noon. There was crowds of people. There was all these different shops you can see lining the left side, or the side. There's about 150 shops up this 2.5 mile boardwalk, and they were very touristy, I guess. That's the wrong button. Oh, goodness. Okay, and so I believe after the 16,000 initiated conversations, we had about 8,000 spiritual conversations. And so these were conversations that involved their opinions on Christianity or their thoughts about God, but didn't expressly get into the gospel. So this just kind of showed that a lot of people might have some sort of background knowledge or might have a little bit of curiosity in religion, but a lot of people didn't necessarily have the time to go through the booklet or the survey, and they just kind of gave us their thoughts really quickly. Or some people some people were already Christians, and we counted those as spiritual conversations just because it was good to be reassured that there were people like us out on the boardwalk, and it was just really cool to see that we weren't alone, that there were other people who were actually sharing as well. Not very many of them. There was one organization that was doing it very wrong. It was people that look like protesters. They have signs on them that say very inappropriate things about people going to wherever they go after life, and we avoided them. Yeah, so after those spiritual conversations, there were quite a few gospel conversations as well. How many?
330.
There's 2,619 conversations that were about the gospel, that we shared the death of Jesus and the resurrection, and that our sins are forgiven, and that Jesus is the only way to heaven. We shared that with 2,000 people. And with those 2,600 people, we had 339 people accept Jesus. And if you think about how much that really is, do you think we could fit 339 people in this church?
Yes.
I don't know. Really? It'd be very uncomfortable. It'd be a lot of strangers.
That is my prayer.
So we're going to pray for them all to come to our church. 339 decisions in 10 weeks, and I myself witnessed 5 of them. I went out with one partner the second week, actually, when I was still very uncomfortable sharing with somebody who I didn't know. And our third conversation of the night was a man and his girlfriend. They were about 22 years old, and we just walked up to them. We asked them if they were free for a few minutes, and they said yeah. We asked them if they wanted to help us out with a survey, and they said yeah, sure, whatever. They didn't seem too interested in it, but when we started talking about God and spirituality, they kind of perked up a little bit, and they gave us some interesting answers. And so by the end of the night, after about an hour-and-a-half long conversation, I had shared the gospel with 2 people, and they had accepted it. And that was probably the highlight of the summer, actually. Just the fact that God uses everybody, that even I can play a part in his grand plan, his master plan, in bringing everybody to him. And so, do I have anything else? No, not really. Okay. So, that's what I wanted to talk about. I learned a lot about evangelism and the power of it and how to do it properly. That was the entire purpose of this mission trip. One of the key phrases that we learned, or that was repeated over and over again, was, we came to leave. And so the idea was that this mission trip was more of a training process. We would minister to people our own age. We would get comfortable with it, we would have practice, and we would know the tools, and then we would go back to campus where these people are unfamiliar, they are more intimidating, the fear of rejection is a very real possibility, and we would use the skills and the tools that we had learned over the summer to minister to our own campus. And especially towards the freshmen, because if you think about it, if you minister to the freshmen every single year, after 4 years, you've ministered to everybody. Because they go along in their year, which is kind of cool. And so that's the plan. We came to leave, and so evangelism is obviously an important tool in that. But one of the difficulties I found with that was I was actually the third youngest person on project. There was a lot of people older than me, a lot of people more experienced than I was, and I was kind of intimidated by that. I thought that I wasn't going to be very good at it. I thought that these people were just going to like evangelize circles around me, and I wasn't ever going to get to do anything meaningful. But I was so wrong. After 3 or 4 weeks, I was perfectly comfortable with it. I would be able to walk up to strangers on the boardwalk and just ask them what they thought about God. Like, how cool is that? I can engage in a spiritual conversation with just about anybody. I've even done it at a grocery store before. And I worked at a grocery store over the summer as well. One of the things that came along with the mission was that they provided 2 meals a day for you, but as tradition for the project, everybody was required to get a job somewhere in the town, and you were encouraged to minister to your coworkers. And so I worked at a grocery store with these lovely people. We all worked at the same one, actually. We kind of took it over, tore it apart. Not just kidding. It was called Acme. They're not local around here, of course. It's to reference the size of it. I suppose it'd be a little bit smaller than Walmart, but it's a very major grocery store. And so I started working there, and my social skills improved greatly. Because I had to deal with frustrating people all the time, but I had to deal with them with a smile on my face. So I learned very quickly how to tolerate difficult people. So that was very helpful in evangelizing, actually, because I was able to adapt to responses a lot easier, and I was able to kind of connect with people, or at least pretend to, a lot easier. So that made evangelism much easier for me. Yeah. So to sum it up, evangelism and fellowship, very important things. I'm going to be seeking these things out and participating in them as much as I can now that I've realized how important they are. I very much appreciate everybody's support and prayers while I was in Ocean City for safety, for funding. Everything's taken care of. And I just thank you all for listening to me while I'm up here as I stutter. And so I just thank you. And this is what I did this summer. It was very life-changing. I have 100 new family members from all across the country. And it's actually going to make this college football season very difficult because I don't know who to root for anymore. Yeah.
Logan, thank you for that. That was very inspiring. I loved how you put all of the life lessons that you learned in this short period of time, so that's great. At this time, we'll go ahead and do prayer time. Does anyone have any prayer requests? While Scripture